Hello guys, welcome back to another painting technique video. This is going to be about watercolor techniques and different ingredients. I will list all the ingredients that you will need below. The resulting paintings that I did are just examples of what you can do with the different painting techniques. You can feel free to take this as a guideline video and then use it on your own to create new ideas and compositions for your own paintings. I will be super happy to see your own results and share feedback about this and the next coming videos. Be sure to wet the paper a little bit before you add the pigment. With some watercolor techniques, you will feel like you're in the kitchen instead of your art studio, using ingredients that you usually would use for cooking, but here we are going to use them on the pigment to achieve really cool effects. In one part of the paper I used rice grains and in the other sea salt. But in fact, normal table salt, the one that you use for your daily cooking, is the best one to achieve this kind of snowflake effect. Try to find a balance in which the paper is wet enough but no soaking, and the pigment is dense enough so it can achieve this contrasting effect on the paper. You can add some side notes to remember what did it went wrong, what worked out better, so that you can improve when you are experimenting with this technique. I personally like this technique a lot. For me, it reminded me of the texture of rocks and of an ocean, but you can also imagine different textures and effects for your own painting. The thing and the trick is to use a really good amount of pigment so that it can be absorbed by the paper, and also try to modify a little bit the plastic foil so that you can get more or less a shape or an idea of the composition that you will want. Be patient with every step on the painting technique because you will need to wait for some time until it dries up by its own pace so that it can absorb as much pigment as possible, and do not move it while it's wet. More or less you will be able to see how much pigment do you need, how wet the paper should be before you add the pigment, and then the plastic foil, how to make the wrinkles so that you can get the effect that you want. Also in this one, wet the paper before you add the pigment, use a more dense pigment, and then place the baking paper on it and wait for it to dry by its own pace. The thing about experimenting with painting techniques is to lose control, to just don't expect anything but just deal with what happened, like an improvisation. And here's the part in which you need to be creative and to associate the effect of the ingredient and the watercolor to some kind of texture, like rocks, like a forest, like a winter landscape, like a seascape. Just play with it and have fun, and I am sure you will get awesome painting after this. I really had fun playing with these bubbles and liquid soap mixed with the pigment, and then blowing with a kind of straw that I made of paper, but if you have plastic ones then it's good, just to create the bubbles. You can also experiment with different kinds of soap, like kitchen soap or normal hand soap or shampoo, to manage the size and the consistency of the bubbles, and then also with the density of the pigment. So it's a little bit tricky, and as all painting techniques, you don't know after you try many times, but have fun and see what happens. This is really cool because it left these marks on the paper that looks kind of microbia or bacteria, but I don't know if you can find another result for yourself. With this watercolor technique, I felt like I was healing the paper because the thread and the gauze reminded me of hospitals and healthcare. You just have to place the gauze on the wet paper and then add the stains of the pigment on it and wait for it to dry. You can combine it with other colors at the same time and just let it dry and see what happens. You can try this technique with different kind of gauze. It will depend on the amount of cotton it has to absorb the pigment and to leave a print on the paper. I don't know what you can see in this one, guys, but it looks like an abstract landscape or the texture of textile. But yeah, it's just a way in which you can try out and see how can you use it for your paintings. I actually didn't have a thicker thread to use for this painting technique, so I used a very thin one, and I was curious what would happen, if it really could achieve some kind of effect after all. But as it happened with the gauze, the cotton in the thread absorbed the pigment and left a mark, and in the end it reminded me about some kind of circulatory system. Maybe it's because I painted it red, I don't know, but maybe with another color it will take another kind of effect. The last painting technique in this video, but not the least one that I will be sharing with you on the next videos, is the sea sponge. You can just use it like a seal with another color, and it gets these spongy effects on the pigment. It's a really nice one when you are also planning to make a landscape, kind of. There will be more painting techniques videos coming soon. I hope you enjoyed this one, because I enjoyed it to do it along with you guys. Take care and see you on the next videos. Bye!